Hello, gentlemen. Welcome back. I'm dating coach Naz, and in today's video, I'm going to talk about should men pay for dates? The truth about money and modern dating. So if you are interested, then please keep on watching. So the first thing that I want to get into is something that men struggle with, which is boundaries. Getting clear on what your boundaries are is very important. A lot of men struggle with this because their standards are low. And the reason why they tend to do this is because, well, number one, they get attracted, right? They go straight in for the kill. And sometimes what they do is because they're so attracted, they overlook a lot of the traits, a lot of the red flags that a woman showcases. And another reason why men lower their standards is because they're a bit desperate, because they're unable to attract great women into their lives. And so what they do is when they find somebody, they tend to lower their standards, and it's like, at least I got somebody, so might as well, just get it done and hope for the best. And unfortunately, that leads them down to failure, because a majority of the time when you lack boundaries, especially with a woman, she could easily be toxic. She could ruin your goddamn life, because I've seen it happen more times than I would like to admit. And so the most important part that I want you to understand, and I know that it's like I already know what men are thinking, and they're probably going to say, well, there's not a lot of men, not a lot of women out there who are interested in a man like me and feel like they're never going to be able to find the one because they don't have all the qualities that a woman is looking for. But if we look at it from a different angle, because listen to me, I have spoken to men that aren't the most attractive, okay? They're not super duper rich, but they have these other traits that sets them apart from other men. And they're able to draw in beautiful, gorgeous soulmate connections to them. And I'm going to get into kind of why this happens, but I want you to know when there's a will, there's a way. And this is why I'm making this video, because I want us to have these conversations. And I want you to, if you have something to say, put it down below. I want to talk about these things. I want to talk about this with respect, and I don't want nobody to feel bad about their gender, if they're a man or a woman. It doesn't matter. I want us all to come together and figure this out peacefully. My biggest tip for men is to not settle just because you're afraid of being alone, which is what majority of men do, unfortunately. And get clear on what you want. What are your boundaries when you're dating? And don't just settle with a woman just because she's gorgeous. Now, point two. Now, this is coming from what I tell my clients. Now, again, this is people can agree with it, people cannot. Everybody's so different, right? Like everybody has different opinions, different backgrounds, different traumas. So what will work with one man will probably another man will not agree with. And that's okay. That's what makes life and the world and human beings so beautiful, is because we are different, and that's all right. So I wanted to prime you guys before I start saying these things. All right. So early on, this is what I would recommend, because we're talking about paying on dates. Early on, so the first 3 dates that you go on with a woman that you have met on a dating app, you have met in person, I believe, this is what I've seen work every time, is that a man should invest in a woman for 3 dates. The first couple of dates, okay, the man should pay. The reason being is because it shows that you're interested and shows that you're invested. Now, let me get to the important part. You don't need fancy dinners. You don't need all of that kind of stuff. Because guess what? When you're finding your player two for the rest of your life, you're looking for the first thing. Yes, attraction, of course. Yes, I agree with that. But you're looking for a friendship. Are you able to laugh? Are you able to share things with each other instead of walking on eggshells and having this pretense? So keep it affordable. Coffee, brunch, go for a walk. Make it exciting. Make it adventurous instead of the same old, like, let's go for, $500 dinner date. Like, you don't need to do that to get to know somebody. Now, another thing I would also add is every date that you go on, there's a couple of days in between those dates, right? So I would recommend to get to know her on the call. So do not text. This is my biggest thing. When people start dating at the very beginning, texts get misconstrued all the time. And women, we sometimes are getting the wrong message. And men, I'm going to be honest, you guys are not the best at texting, and it's okay. Actually, to be honest, some men are really good at texting. I'm not going to lie. Some men are, some men aren't. And that's okay, right? So know your weakness. Maybe you're not a great texter. But even if you are a great texter or not, what I want you to know is that when those days and between those dates, I want you to keep the momentum going. I want you to not break that connection. Because what happens is when you go on a date, it goes really well. And then you're like, wait, but I haven't heard from him in like a couple of days. It kind of fizzles out a little bit, right? So my tip to you is to continue that momentum and get to know her on the phone. And again, this is what I'm saying. When you're investing in 3 dates with a woman, again, even if you're paying $40, $50, whatever it is, it's still money from your pocket, right? So you want to make sure that this woman is really like, she's a good catch and she's aligned to you. So make sure that on those calls, you're not talking about sports or talking about La La Land. Like get intentional with this woman, especially if you're looking for a committed relationship. I'm not talking about men who are looking for casual hookups. This is not the channel for you, sweetie. Okay. So when you're looking for something intentional, make sure you're asking good, deep questions to really get to know her. Dating is about effort, not the expense. If a woman is a gold digger, if she wants a man who's rich and she wants you to pay for her lifestyle, then you're instantly going to find out. You will know, because she's going to say something along the lines of, well, I don't do this kind of stuff. Like I'm only going on dates, blah, 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 blah. She's not the woman for you. Great. Thank you so much for letting me know. Now I can move on and find somebody who I really want to be with. Period. And also I already said this, stick to what fits to your budget and shows that you care. What women love the most is that you freaking care. And another tip that I would give you is chivalry. Okay. Again, I've seen a lot of people saying how chivalry is dead and because women want equality and so men don't need to be chivalrous anymore. Come on, guys. Come on. What's happening? It's scaring me a little bit. Please show up with a flower, show up with a rose. Get that romance, all of those things. And of course, okay, I'm not saying you need to sleep with her on the first date, but what I'm saying is just be a bit different than the usual bunch of men that she's probably been with who just show up and, like don't care. Show that you care for her. Now, point 3 that I wanted to make is if she never offers to pay, that's not a good sign. And by the way, I speak to men all the time where they tell me, I ask them, what are your boundaries with money? And they say, well, you know what? I want to be the provider. I don't need her to pay, which I understand. If you're a man and you're like, I got the financial side and I don't want her to pay. I still think, though, that she needs to offer because it shows that she is giving as well, right? Because if a woman is saying, well, you got to pay for me, and that mentality, it's not a good sign, to be honest. When a woman is able to say, hey, can I get this or whatever, even though if you don't want her to pay, that's okay. But it is a good sign if she does offer. Now, if she doesn't offer to pay in those 3 dates, let's say 3 dates were casual and then maybe the 4th date, you do something a little bit more special. I would say definitely, kind of see how she's reacting because that is really important when the bill comes up. But let's say if she doesn't offer at all, she's just not giving it all. You can just see, you can see the energy. I want you to say this to her. I'm curious, what's your take on money? What's your take on how money should be handled in dating? Do you think a man should usually pay, or do you prefer a more balanced approach? So here, you're just asking her a question, keeping the conversation light, getting to know her without making it feel confrontational. Like, hey, I noticed you didn't pay. Why did you pay? I think these questions are important. And yes, it's going to feel uncomfortable to maybe get it out of your mouth because you're like, oh my God, why am I talking about this? And men shouldn't talk. No, 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 no. You should talk about these things. This is what builds the bond, builds the connection. Because if she's really your person, she is going to give you an answer that was going to draw you both in together. But if she's somebody who's like, I don't do this, I don't pay for dates, again, you're getting to know her mentality. And so after those first couple of dates, then it should be her making those decisions for the next date, and then you, and then vice, so we're switching it up. Let's get into why do women, because I had the statistic in my last video, why do women choose only 20% of men, which is really wild. Some of the high value traits that women are looking for is because women are attracted to men who offer physically, emotionally, financially, they're stable. A lot of the times, the emotional aspect in men is missing. The communication is missing. That's one of the reasons why men struggle to attract love into their lives. I did some research and I wanted to understand, why do women only go for 20% of men? It's not just about looks or money, and I know men will probably say no, it is. But women also want confidence and emotional availability, leadership, and the ability to provide security and stability. And because without these things, a woman is not going to be able to live in her feminine energy. There's always going to be a sense of fear in her because she's not going to feel stable in the relationship with you. And so if even one of these things are missing, it can set her off. It can put her back into her masculine energy. And two people with masculine energy is not going to work. These are the traits that make a man stand out as somebody who can truly build a long-term supportive partnership. Now, this was one thing I want to speak about, right? About money. Because what happens is, a lot of people having this conversation about money, about how much should a woman invest, how much should a man invest, and men are saying, well, women want equality, so let's do 50-50. Now my personal opinion on this is that there's nothing wrong with 50-50 approach. But you need to also understand that a woman is made to have a child. And so again, if she wants to have a child, I know there's people that don't want children, and that's totally fine. But when a woman becomes a mother, her roles shift. She's no longer the single woman that you met. She's very different. Her priorities are very different. Because at this point, now she's thinking, how do I look after the family? How do I keep everybody safe? How do I nurture everybody? And she taps into a different power while, carrying the emotional load and often stepping back from financial contributions because she is putting all of her energy, her feminine energy into the family. Again, this is where communication is crucial, especially when you're dating, that's really important. But before she gets pregnant, you have to speak about these things. How are we going to shift these things and step up when the man really needs to? Is he able to do that, or does the woman still need to work? And again, sometimes when men and women don't have these conversations, this is what creates conflict in the relationship, because the woman's expectations here and the man's the expectations aren't aligned. Many men, unfortunately, they avoid these tough conversations and they lower their standards. This is where being clear about your boundaries and what you're really looking for is so important, because what we sometimes tend to do is we get into dating, we meet a beautiful woman, and then we don't even understand or know what are our boundaries. Are we okay to pay fully for a woman, or do we want a woman to pay 50-50? We don't know any of these things. And so what happens is we get into dating, we find a great, beautiful woman, and then she subtly tells us what our boundaries need to be. And then we switch it up because we want to please her. We want to appease her. And then later down the line, you realize, oh my God, this is not what I wanted. And then you start building up resentment for her, which is not fair. Both parties need to be able to communicate effectively and honestly to each other. This is why I say in dating, even if a question makes you feel uncomfortable to ask it, because that is what you need to be asking. And if you're avoiding questions, this is going to, again, lead you, yes, it's going to be great for that moment. You guys are going to get married and life is going to be great. But then there's going to be a point after 5 or 10 years where things hit the fan, and then you start having arguments all the time, and you start resenting each other, and you're like, oh my God, why did I allow this to happen? And you don't want to have regrets. So rather ask these questions at the very beginning when you're dating, even if you're desperate to get a relationship. Because first of all, you should never start dating when you're desperate. Because when you're desperate, that is when you're going to attract the devil, okay? The crazy woman, that's what they want. They want someone who's desperate, because that is when they can get you to do things for them. So if you ever feel like your energy, you feel like you're getting desperate, you're lacking that confidence within yourself, fix that first. Because as a man, that is firstly not attractive to a woman. When a man is not confident in himself and he is doubtful of his actions, of his behaviors, of if he doesn't even know if he's enough, that's not attractive to a woman. You wouldn't want a woman who has low self-confidence and who is doubtful of her behaviors and actions. It's the same way for both. But for men, because you guys are the leader of the pack, you guys are the visionaries. And so as a leader, you need to be able to lead. Otherwise, what's the point? And another thing that I want to mention as well is that, quickly, I'll try to be quick. Right now, what's happening in the men and women world and relationships and all these conversations that we're having is that we are separating men and women, like in a very, very toxic way. We're boxing men in this one category, all the women are in this one category, and it's as if we're all the same. We are one, but we're not all the same. And a lot of the times people judge a woman just because of how she looks or how she speaks, and they don't even get to know her. And the same way for a man, he gets judged. All the men are in one box, all the women are here, and we're just fighting with each other. I want us to try to stop this blame game, this argumentative nature that we have come to, where women are blaming the men for being toxic, for being emotionally unavailable, for not supporting them, for not being financially available, whatever it is. And then men are blaming the woman for being superficial, going after the money, being a gold digger, and so many other things. Blaming is not going to get us anywhere. We can acknowledge that there are some women out there that are gold diggers. There are some men out there that are narcissistic and toxic. And we can sit here and talk about it all day long. But where does that take us? Nowhere. The only place it takes us is blame, is making them the bad guy. But when you put the finger back onto yourself and ask yourself, what am I doing to attract these women that are not interested in creating or building a life with me? What am I doing right now? And I understand men will not agree with this, and that's okay. Some men will, some men won't, and that's all right. This is just my opinion. This is why I'm here. And I get it. Dating women, this stuff is tough for you. I understand. I totally want to validate that. I don't want to gaslight you. Whatever you feel is okay. But what I'm saying is that by remaining and having these conversations over and over and over again, that women are this and women are that, we're not going anywhere. We're not getting to our goal any faster. We're actually getting held back even further. So what I would like for us to do, at least try to, is to stop talking about it over and over again and ask yourself, what am I doing wrong? What do I need to work on myself? Whether it be emotional availability. Are you a man who's able to connect with a woman emotionally? Meaning, are you able to share how you feel? Are you able to express gratitude when you're with her? Are you able to communicate those feelings? And if you're not, maybe you are in really toxic, unhealthy relationships with women that made you devalued you and made you feel really bad about yourself. That could happen as well. But I want you to know that not every woman is the freaking same. Just how not every man is the same. Not every man is a cheater. Not every man is, just creepy. All of us are not the same. We need to firstly understand that aspect. We're all very different, and that's okay. But when we come on the internet and we just judge a bunch of the whole gender for being the same way, it doesn't make sense. It's not true. It's not factual. So all I want you to start today is just by putting your energy, putting your focus onto what is positive and putting that focus onto yourself. What could you do today to be a better partner for the woman that you're looking for? Talk about something that you actually want in your life, which is love, happiness, joy, abundance. Talk about that. So a little bit of homework that I have for you today is I want you to get a journal, and I want you to start writing down the kind of love that you're looking for. What kind of woman are you looking for? How do you want her to make you feel? What are the characteristics of this woman? You need to put it down on paper. You need to understand what you actually want. And I want you to read it once in the morning when you wake up and once at night right before you go to bed, because this is how it goes into your subconscious mind. A lot of our subconscious beliefs are holding us back unconsciously from attracting love in our lives, maybe because of the way our parents treated each other or whatever it is. And so I want you to know that the power is in your hands. It's not in women's hands. It's in nobody's hands. It's in your hands only. Period. I've also created a free guide for you guys, how to land a date in 7 days, which is amazing. And it's really so helpful. And so if you are interested, click the link down below, and I'm going to see you guys in my next video.